Project really loud. I don't often need a mic.
And folks, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
One more time. Welcome. Thank you for being here on behalf of the family as we honor the life of a truly amazing man, Jack Israel. What does it mean to honor one's memory? In the Jewish tradition, we do this in two ways. We say the proper blessings, which we'll do, but we also tell the story of one's life. In Hebrew, we call it the chesped. In English, we call it the eulogy. And today, you will hear about the life, the amazing life of Jack Israel. You know, I often say that the body and the soul in Judaism are two distinct entities, that we believe at birth they come together and at death they separate. But whether you believe in the soul or not, one thing is for certain: the people we've loved, the people we've lost live on right here. Everything Jack was, all his memories, all his stories, all his joys and sorrows are now a part of you. We honor his memory by making them a part of ourselves, by taking the best parts and making them a part of us. We're going to begin our service today with the reading of Psalm 23. If you know the words, you can repeat after me. If you have a card in front of you, I don't know if they've given one out, you can use it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And let us all say, Amen. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help is from God, the maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. See, your protector will never slumber. See, God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day or the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your goings and your comings forever. And let us all say, Amen. There's a famous song, I'm sure many of you have heard of it, Turn, Turn, Turn. I believe it's by Peter, Paul, and Mary. They didn't actually create a lot of that. That comes from Scripture. But these words, I think, are very resonant to me in times like this. For everything there is a season. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak. Jack Israel was born in the northeast section of Philadelphia to Eugene and Frida Israel. It was your stereotypical middle-class upbringing. Eugene was a military man. Frida was a homemaker, but had this very creative and artistic side. She actually held patents. She had a patent to a pretty well-known children's toy, I believe the holster to a gun. Not that they made any money off this, but they had the paperwork. She had 14 miscarriages, Frida. 14 miscarriages. In a very real way, Jack was her miracle baby. Think about that. 14. And then to finally have the one succeed, and that was Jack, her miracle son, her baby. But tragically, she died fairly young in Jack's life. And at times like that, back in those days, it was very uncommon for a man to raise a child, let alone a son, by himself. So he married rather quickly. which was not the best situation for Jack. His stepmother was not a well person. She was very abusive. And so Jack became very distant from his family. He started acting out. He became a rebel. He once got kicked out of school for stink bombs. You remember those? But school wasn't really for Jack. He wanted to be out in the world. He wanted to be doing things. And so at the age of 16, he dropped out. He took a bunch of odd jobs, including loading trucks. He just wanted to be out there doing, making. But at 17, he decided to join the United States Marine Corps, which makes a lot of sense because the Marine Corps is like a family. It's stability, it's security, it's routine, all the things that I think a young Jack probably needed in his life. You know, these were very formative years for Jack. It was only a year later that he met the future love of his life, Regina. They were both from Northeast Philly, and they both went to the same sandwich shop. The same sandwich shop. It was across from Northeast High School, I believe. And it was a cold winter day, and Regina was wearing, if I get this right, a sky blue ski suit. Now that's style. And Jack was just smitten, just in the moment, taken. And he went to a woman who wore K. I got to get her number. You got to get me her number. But it was love. It was love at first sight. And they fell in love so much so they were married only 1 year later. Around this time, Jack was sent to Vietnam, like many young soldiers at the time. But in 1964, when Regina and Jack were having their first daughter, Denise, he wanted to come home. He wanted to be there for the birth of his daughter. And so they gave him leave to come home. That was a fateful decision, because while he was on leave, his entire platoon was killed. His entire platoon was killed. Must have been hard. And yet, the miracle persisted for him to be alive. 3 years later, Jackie was born, 1967, and like many families of that time, they wanted to move to the suburbs to give their family a better life, a better education. So they moved to Moorestown, New Jersey, not a throw stones from where we are today, and they raised their family. But Jack was the constant hustler. He had to provide for his family. He didn't have education, and he didn't have a family to rely on. So he did a lot of jobs. And it was a list. It was a list given to me. UPS driver, you know that one? 3M salesman at a chemical company, insurance, he owned a marina, realtor, real estate. This is all before he owned any office goods supply store. He was just grit and determination. Grit and determination, because that's all he had to succeed in this life. Now, that didn't always mean he was around, but I think his family understood why he had to be gone, because he was trying to provide for them. You know, Regina and Jack were very different people. They were in love, but they were very different people. Regina was the caregiver. She was the warm one. Jack was a little more firm, as I said, the protector, the provider. But they really loved their life, and they loved their life together. And it wasn't all work. They really did enjoy many things. They loved going to Jupiter, Florida. They loved traveling to the Bahamas and to the islands, fishing and boating. Maybe that's where the marina comes into play. He loved to do all these things. You know, work is only one part of life. It was an important part of Jack's life, but it was not the only part. And we often think about, in moments like these, what are the legacies we leave behind? And I think Jack left behind a few legacies. One, obviously, his beautiful family who's here today. His daughter, Denise, who passed a few years ago, and his wife who passed. Jackie said much of the values she inherited from her father, she uses to this day. His work ethic, his determination. I'm sure Joe can attest to that, you know. But Jackie said something to me that I thought was really powerful. When I asked her, what was your father's legacy to you? She said that his legacy was helping people be successful, because he never had that. He wasn't a gatekeeper. He didn't want to keep any barriers from anybody having a better life. He wanted to be a source of knowledge and wisdom for whoever needed it. That's an amazing person. We live in a very individualistic society where it's about me and only me and doesn't matter about you. I don't think Jack saw the world like that. I think he wanted to make his family better and other families better. And he did just that. But I didn't know Jack the way many of you did. So I want to call up some people today who truly knew Jack very well. I want to call up Albert first. Albert, come on up.
Good afternoon, everybody. As we gather here today to celebrate the life of our dear friend, Jack Israel, let us remember the laughter, love, and joy he brought into our lives. May his memory continue to inspire and uplift us as we navigate this world without him. Together we can honor his legacy and cherish the moments we shared. First, to Jackie and all of Jack's family, from my family to yours, our deepest sympathies and condolences. I think this memorial should be a joyful one and not a mournful one. We, after all, have to keep in mind Jack, who we are here to celebrate and what he would have preferred. Jack Israel, he was known by many names. He was called husband by Jeannie. He was the perfect husband, always providing a wonderful home for Jeannie and being faithful to her and caring for her. They traveled and vacationed together, always in warm locations. Jeannie always assisted him in his business ventures, giving Jack her welcomed opinions and insights. In the last years of Jeannie's life, Jack became her caregiver. He never complained and always put her care his top priority. He was called father by his daughters, Denise and Jackie. He was so proud of both of them. Denise worked with Jack in his business and was his personal assistant. When he told me of Denise's passing, Jack cried uncontrollably. It changed his life forever. Jackie married and has 2 daughters. Her wedding was an unforgettable event. Jack was the proud father of the bride. There was nothing too good for his girls. He was called Sir and Mr. Israel in the business world. Jack was respected not only for his fairness, but also for his vision and negotiating ability. Jack was the true definition of an entrepreneur. When we first met, Jack was the owner of a boat rental business in Sea Isle. Jack saw the potential of the property and developed it into residential homes. Soon thereafter, Jack acquired an office furniture business. Now, Jack knew nothing about office furniture, but Jack took a business located in a small strip center in a shopping center to a standalone retail store in Cherry Hill. His employees were devoted to him. One of his employees, Jimmy, called him Pop out of respect for him. But Jack's true love in the business world was buying land and constructing houses. Jack built houses in many shore communities, also in Haddonfield and Cherry Hill. Jack was always looking for the next real estate transaction, looking for a property that was overlooked and converting it into a desired location. Jack was very successful at doing this. Jack had a love for the water. Jack loved living on the water, whether it be the Atlantic Ocean, the Delaware River, or his new love, his house on the bay in Brigantine. His dream was to sit on the deck in that house and watch the sunset over the bay. Jack not only lived living in the water, he enjoyed fishing on the water. I have a distinct memory of Jack sitting on the bow of my boat with a fishing pole in his hand and looking so content. Jack loved going to sporting events. At times, he had season tickets to the Phillies, Eagles, and Flyers. I remember going to an Eagles game with Jack and his friend John. The parking lot attendants called him the Pretzel Man. He always brought fresh, soft pretzels for them. Somehow, he always got preferential parking spots. One thing Jack was not called was shy. When he walked into a room, you knew he was there, and you did not forget him. He carried himself with confidence and unmistakable flair. I called him Jack. He was my friend. We shared many experiences together. Excuse me. Good ones and bad ones. He was always there for me. I could always talk to him and confide in him. And I could not have asked for a better friend. I think many people felt the same way as I did about Jack. Jack, my life is better because of you. I will pray for your soul, and I know I will see you again in heaven. Goodbye, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We're next going to invite up Craig Kessler. Craig.
Jackie asked me to say a few words, and it's hard to condense it into a short speech, but I will try. Renee and I, my wife, knew Jack for 35 years. We met him in a gym called OmniFit. Jack's a real big guy. He's running around, and he's running with Candida, who's this petite woman. I'm like, I think I can do that. And I drop him behind them. And as I'm running around, they look back and said, hey, can I join you? They said, sure. Well, as the expression goes, the rest was history. We've been friends ever since. Scott was born, our son was born, and we'd bring him to the gym. And Jack would come in, and Scott would crawl over to Jack. Jack would pick him up, hug him, give him a kiss, and hand him back to us. Well, anybody that knows Jack, you know what Scott smelled like. Polo. I learned a lot of things about Jack in that time, in the 35 years. He was a private person. We didn't get a lot of details about what was going on in his life. You know, he kept some of the business things, other things pretty quiet. But I did know that he loved Jeannie. He couldn't do anything without her, I should say. Everything he did was with her. He was a devoted father to Jackie and Dee Dee and would do whatever he wanted. He was a ferocious friend. He protected all of his friends and all of his people that worked for him, including, most of all, Jimmy. He wasn't overtly religious. He was proud to be Jewish. He went to synagogue like most Jews 3 times a year, twice on Rosh Hashanah, one on Yom Kippur. But if the synagogue called saying, hey, we need some money, can you please help us out? Jack opened the wallet. When our youngest son, Eric, was born, for the bris, everybody knows what the bris is, where the moil comes, and we asked Jack to be the sandik. The sandik is the person that holds the baby until it happens. And Jack's like, why are you asking me? Don't you have anybody else to ask? Don't you? It's like, he says, nobody family? I said, Jack, you are family. He always was family. So we're at the bris, and Jack's standing behind the sandik holding Eric. And Eric, I could hold in my hand when he was born. So in Jack's hands, in Jack's arms, it's like he disappeared. But Jack, nothing was ever happening to that baby. You know, so Jack loved our kids. And the kids always called him Uncle Jack from the time they knew how to speak. And Jack never forgot the birthdays. No matter what was going on in his life, the kids always received a card with something inside. In fact, Eric was going to India, and he told Jack that there's a place in India where I can get a custom-made suit for like $100. There's the $100. Jack paid for it. We'd always get together. We'd get together with Candida and Phil, real close friends, go out for dinner, and we would always have fun. When there's a picture with Jack laughing, and he had this laugh, like, like he was about to burst. And we had one of those times we went to this Italian restaurant where he sang opera, and the check came, and Jack looked at the check and went, and just starts bursting out loud. What's the matter? What's the matter? I didn't realize it was going to be that much. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Jack. But his passion was real estate, as just was spoken about. He loved real estate. He loved doing this. And he invited his Candy and Phil and us down to his side-by-side in the Sea Isle. And we went out, Phil and I went over, and he's like, I saw that one. I saw that one. I bought that one. I tried to get that one, too expensive. It's like, he just loved doing it. And the next morning, he says, I got to go. And he left. He comes back about an hour later. I said, where were you, Jack? Oh, I was at an auction. He just bought the 2 lots in Strathmere, which took 10 years to build because of all kinds of reasons. But that's what he loved. He was down here we live in Florida. So he finally came down. We kept saying, come down, Jack, come, Jack. And he came down, and we're meeting for dinner, and he's there waiting. What is he doing? He pulled out one of those real estate magazines with things for sale. Jack, he says, I'm always looking for a bargain, always looking for a bargain. So I will tell you that I know right now he's up in heaven with Jeannie. He's looking at houses, and he walks in, and he says, yo, Lord, you know, if we break this wall down, put in some new appliances, and give it a new fresh paint, we can double our money. You in? So my wife, my kids, and I will miss him, and we loved him.
Thank you. We're going to invite up Tina. Tina.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tina, and I'm here to help celebrate with Jack his life. He's a wonderful person. We've known him for about 21 years, and Jack would always take us to exciting places, out to new places that he and Jeannie would go for dinner, and he took us to flea markets, and he also would just drive around town. Like they had mentioned before, Jack would take us to his hometown, show us where he lived as a child, where he met his beautiful wife, Jeannie, for the first time. And he would drive us all through, like, down in Brigantine and show us his new homes and stuff like that. But I think the most important experience that I can enlighten you with right at this time is his relationship with our dog, Bentley. We have a 80-pound dog, Fox Terrier. He's 55% Fox Terrier. And Jack, pretty much, Bentley was Jack's dog from day one. He's only about 2 years old, and he would always bring our Bentley a toy. Well, Bentley was strong-willed and tempered, and he would destroy the toys. And Jack made it his point that one of these days he was going to find a perfect toy for him. He would come over the house and say, here's a toy for Bentley. I know he can't destroy this one. And it was a heavy rope with a knot in it. And he'd give it to Bentley. And my husband would say, yeah, right, Jack, right. So Jack will be home for a couple of days, and we'd call him up on the phone, send him a text with a picture, completely shredded. Jack says, I can't believe this. Well, in between all these toys he was prompting him with, he would bring him little squeaky toys. And our Bentley, it was a really different side of him. He would squeak the toy and start singing a tune to the toy. So we called up Jack and said, wow, listen to Bentley. And Jack was totally amazed on the other end of the phone, and he says, I can't believe this. So next time he brings him another toy from the Destroy, and it was like a softball, but a little bit smaller. Well, Bentley, he says, I can handle this, right? And Jack says, there's no way he can destroy this ball. Well, don't you know, within 3 days, our Bentley had the leather ripped off of this ball and in shreds. We took a picture, showed it to Jack. Jack was he says, I'll find something, I'll find something. And he brought him several other little squeaky toys. And little Bentley, who's not really little, every time he got a squeaky toy from Jack, he would sit there and sing a tune, a different tune than what he sung before with the squeaky toy. And Jack was totally amazed at this dog singing squeaky toys. Well, finally Jack did find a toy. It was like a rubber tire wheel that he could not, we still have it today, okay, because he can't get through this. But I wanted to let you know about Bentley because they had such a close relationship. Every time the SUV went up the driveway, Bentley was looking out the window as Jack came home from work, running back and forth from the door to the window, wanting to see his Jack. We'd open the door, he'd bat over to Jack and greet Jack, and Jack's all fumbling even when his condition started worsening a little bit. Jack would request that we bring Bentley up to the house just so he could throw the ball for him, and I just needed to let you know this close relationship he has with our Bentley and with us. We love him very much, and we're going to miss him terribly, really terribly. And I just wanted to just give you and say, Jack, I know right now you're walking up in heaven with Jeannie and Dee Dee and your 3 little puppies down by the beach. And that's where I am going to vision you for the rest of my life. Thank you.
All right, we're going to finally bring up Jack's daughter, Jackie.
I just want to thank everybody that's here today. For remembering Jack. We'd all know him as a fighter. Somebody that didn't give up even till the day of his last breath. That was the hardest part through it all. Most of you in the room know how much Jack suffered with his cancer, and I'm happy to say that upon his death, he had beaten both the cancers that he had. So he didn't die from cancer, he died from pneumonia. And that was a big deal for him to know that. We really thought he'd be able to pull through. There's so many people in this room that I need to thank for supporting and being there for Jack when he needed it. And boy, did he need it. But with that, I just say thank you. I'm rambling, and I didn't mean to say that. I can't even read what's on my page here, but I think the sentiment basically is just that I appreciate everybody's efforts in making Jack the man that he was today. Each and every one of you have a favorite story, and Jack, as you can hear from the 3 who are up here, had some crazy stories. That man did some really crazy things in a good way and also in a bad way. We all know that as well. There's a woman who's not here today. She's located in Key Largo, Florida. Her name's Barbara. My mom and dad were friends with Barbara and her husband, Arthur, who passed away about a year ago. So while she's still nursing the wounds that she had for her husband, she came up here quite a few times from Florida by herself and stayed at my dad's side as a good friend and a companion and nursed him many times to thinking Jack could beat whatever was ahead of him, and she did, and I thank her for that. You just met Tina, and you could see how sweet and wonderful she is. And if it wasn't for her and her husband, Lynn, I wouldn't be here to be able to say all the things they have helped me through tremendously and helped my father through a hard time. My father probably wouldn't be here for at least a year ago, and it was through Tina's a 35-year retired critical care nurse, and she did bring him out of all the misery that he was in and kept him living. I do believe that to this day, and Lynn has been a true and tried friend to my dad. He helps him with all his requests around the house. I drive him crazy. I'll still continue to even this morning, but I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to both you guys. And the best part is I have a relationship with two people that my dad gave to me, and I'm grateful for that. And the last thing I want to say is it hasn't just been 2 years that I'm on this journey with my dad. It was a journey with my sister and a dreadful journey with my mother and her health. And all throughout that time, my husband and my two daughters have stood by my side relentlessly. I gave up a lot of time with them and didn't get to enjoy some of the accolades that they had, and they still supported me. And for that, I'm very grateful, because it's been very tumultuous, as most of you who are close to me know that. And while my mother and father are not here, the one thing I can honestly say, especially with my mother, is she gave me the gift of knowing the true meaning of family and raising good, strong women, girl power. So thank you. Again, I thank you, and I apologize for the tears, but thank you for all the support, and thank you for the kind words for Jack and my family. I appreciate it more than you know. And beautiful sermon, absolutely, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And the sharing doesn't stop here. It begins here. You know, I was reflecting as Craig was talking that, you know, Jack didn't come to synagogue a lot. He was very gracious with the synagogue, but he didn't come a lot. And because of COVID, he only came to services one time that I've been rabbi. So the one time I gave a sermon on how Americans probably work too hard. And that we're overworked, and it's for all the wrong reasons. He probably thought I was a schmuck. But he was very gracious. He came up to me afterwards, and he thanked me for what I was doing, and I really appreciated that. So I'm going to ask everybody now to take a moment of silence. Bring Jack into your hearts and into your minds. Lower your gaze or close your eyes, and just bring him in. Take a moment. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai Natan, v'Adonai lakach, Shem Adonai mevorach. God has given, and God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. May Jack's memory be for a blessing, and let us all say, Amen. Into your care we entrust the spirit of Jack Israel, for you keep faith with your children in death as you do in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, God, are with us as a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life and in hope of eternity. In the Jewish faith, there are two prayers that are commonly said at funerals. One is called El Moed Rachamim. It's chanted in Hebrew. I will chant it in Hebrew in a moment, and then I will say the English. This prayer is to ask for mercy on Jack's soul, asking God for mercy. And then after that, we will do the mourner's Kaddish. El Moed Rachamim, Shochem Bamromim, Hamse Menucha, Nechon Tachan Kanfei Hashkina, Im Kedoshim, Utohorim, Gehazar Hakaria Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Jack Israel, shalach lamo. Ba'al harachamim, yaseteru bisater knafav lamim. Vayitror bitror, hachaim et nishmato. Arayhu nachamato. Vanuch v'shalom v'mishkavo v'nomar. And let us all say, Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Jack Israel, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in everlasting life. God is his inheritance now. May he rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen. The most famous prayer, the Mourner's Kaddish, we're going to say at the graveside. Just so you know, that's what's to come. But I'm going to ask everybody to please rise as we remove the casket from the sanctuary. And if you're a pallbearer, you can please step forward.